It's going to be a fantastic collection of panels this year. Please check out the program. There are many, many great things in here, of great value. Tonight we are very honored to have two guys speaking to the cutting edge of technology and cameras, and we're very proud to have them here. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors that didn't get on the program, which is SECT Sound, who helped us with our sound, Mission Electronics, and Office Port. So please come to all of these seminars. We'll hopefully see you there. I'm going to throw the reins over to Rich Ambler. Oh, and check out the films, by the way. We also have a couple of films that we're playing with the panels. So check out those films. Rich Ambler, Todd Norris.
Okay, good. Thank you for coming. I'm Rich, this is Todd. And we want to just jump right into this. This is not really an instructional so much on how to use all these cameras. It's more of what we've seen done with them, what we can do with them, and then I think we can trade ideas back and forth also about what the future of all this may be. First of all, we wanted to get some idea of who has one of these little cameras that shoots high def.
Yeah, raise your hand if you own one of these.
Okay, very good. Let's call it out. What camera do you have? What brand and model?
It's the Canon 5D Mark II.
5D, good, good. Somewhere back there?
No.
No? What do you have?
Canon, Gravity, something like.
Somebody else have one? Yeah, what do you have?
5D Mark II.
5D Mark II, cool, cool.
That's actually his camera.
Yes?
Yeah, T2i.
Okay. Canon.
Now, I know somebody here's got a Panasonic. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay.
Yeah, GH1.
All right.
H1. Okay. Is that about it for everybody?
Any 7D owners? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How about Nikon? Just to round it out. Any Nikon people? Screw Nikon. All right.
That's kind of what I said a few years ago. I was a Nikon guy, and then I just built screw Nikon. So, okay, who is using these cameras? Well, even today, kind of crossed a barrier for me, something that I didn't think I would see actually, and I found out, and as a result you have this one sheet. The final episode of House is going to be using the 5D Mark II, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I just don't, I didn't think that would be happening, but it is. So whether we like it or not, or it's good or bad, you can't judge it. It's going to happen more. Who knows whether the standard cameras are going to be shooting equally as well as those or what, but it'll be an interesting time in the next few years to see what kind of surfaces or how both of them work out at the same time. So and Robert Rodriguez, the website at the bottom of that page, you might look at that because it shows Robert Rodriguez shooting a music video, and isn't he shooting a feature too?
I don't know if he's shooting the feature on the cameras or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. But I know he was shooting a music video in and around Austin with a collection of different Canon DSLRs. So all tricked out, of course, with the, you know, the rods and the follow focus and everything else. But still, yeah.
Yeah, because he said it took him back to El Mariachi days when he could just run around and shoot everything himself. So who's using them for music videos, commercials, features? It's like, anybody else have another use they've seen? No? Okay.
Well, also just to add to that, as far as the credibility factor, I guess, the film that won the jury prize for best feature at South by Southwest just this year was shot on a Canon 7D, a movie called Tiny Furniture. So anyway, very cool.
Yeah. Todd, you want to talk about the large image sensors and what they do?
Yeah, so for the people who already own these, probably the advantages are already kind of obvious. So, but for everyone else, the whole concept behind these, or the reason why these are cool, for one thing, of course, the price. You know, as far as the quality of image that you can get for the price, that's great. But why is the image so cool? And in addition to what you always think of in terms of like high resolution and better dynamic range, the big sexy thing that everybody wants from these is a shallower depth of field. So if you come from a video background like me, where you're used to shooting on consumer or prosumer video cameras that have 1/3" chips, you know, the image sensors are 1/3 inch. Pretty much everything is in focus all the time, whether you like it or not. I mean, you can get shallow depth of field, meaning, and the concept of shallow depth of field is that, say for instance, one plane, you know, say your actor is in focus, but the background and maybe things in the foreground are soft and out of focus, so you can really pleasingly, beautifully isolate things in the frame and have a nice soft background. That's almost impossible to do with consumer video cameras. But because these DSLRs have image sensors that are much larger, i.e. about the same size as a Hollywood movie camera, then the depth of field looks pretty much exactly like movies shot in Hollywood. So that's why it's suddenly, instead of having to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on 35mm film stock and processing, you can get a little SD card in one of these cameras and get imagery that comes pretty close. So that's why it's really exciting. So.
Well, going along with that, you want to talk about the difference between full frame, APS-C, and micro Four 3 sensors?
Yeah, so we had a little sampling of everybody here. It seems like quite a few people are 5D owners, a GH1 guy and some T2i and other. So here's the thing. The Canon 5D has a sensor that is called a full frame sensor, and that is, the sensor is the same size as a 35mm still camera. So back in the day, and I'm sure some people still do it, but of course when people shot 35mm stills, the size of the negative, the Canon 5D has a sensor that is that same size. Now here's something that I didn't know, believe it or not, like I'm a filmmaker and I didn't know this until maybe about a year ago, is that Hollywood movies, the size of a 35mm negative is actually smaller than a full frame 35mm still image. So technically speaking, the depth of field that you get when you shoot with the 5D, which is a full frame camera, is actually even shallower than your average Hollywood movie, all things being equal. You know? So in some ways, it's actually, as far as the focus puller's job, if the Canon 5D, you can have just a razor thin slice of something in focus, and if a person moves from here to here, they're out of focus, and it can drive you crazy. But the good upside of that is, it's this really amazing, beautiful looking shallow depth of field. So then the APS-C size sensor, which is the next size down, which will be for those who have a Canon Rebel T1i or T2i or the 7D, the APS-C size sensor is a little smaller, and that's pretty similar to the size of a 35mm movie camera, you know, like for Hollywood, and which is very similar to the Red camera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's as far as if you want to get really persnickety and have the exact same depth of field as Hollywood movies, that does the trick. And then the Panasonic GH1, which I have, and one other person out here, has what's called a micro 4/3 size, or a 4/3 size sensor actually, which is a little bit smaller still than the APS-C, but actually in terms of depth of field, it's actually only a half a stop difference, which to me is kind of negligible. So it's almost the same thing, to be honest. But that's the deal. But all of those are way bigger than 1/3" chips, or even the 2/3" chips, which were part of professional camcorders that were used for, say, news or, you know, television. So it's pretty revolutionary, this look.
And we're talking about these little things about the size of the sensor and the depth of field and all the little tricks that they have and don't have and all that. But Todd and I agree on this. What we really want to get across is it's still filmmaking and it's photography. It's the art of it all. It's not that, oh, the camera will do everything for you now. No, it's not like that. We still need, the first thing you start off with, you got to have a good story for the camera, whether you're shooting a still or video, a good story for the whole thing to work with. Okay, then now all these little tricks we're talking about are to lend credibility to that story, to tell an interesting and a fun story. That's what all these things are for. Otherwise, why fool with them? So use these tools and little ideas we're going to talk about to help your filmmaking, not to buy the camera and let it do its thing for you. For instance, you could buy this camera, I think, for $1,700 bucks, just the camera. Well, that's pretty amazing when a Red camera costs, what, I don't know, $17,000, and I've been using a Vericam, which the guy's been trying to sell me for a couple years now, and he paid $125,000 for the Vericam, and it's a great camera, but there's no way I'm going to pay the kind of money for that camera. I'll rent it, thank you. And so you can get this kind of camera.